talking strategy today, the perfect drive strategy has to play its part, but how big a part really does it play? And how much can you control it? That's what we're going to investigate today. Going to an amazing location where strategy, certainly on the whole, where we're going to demonstrate our ideas, my ideas, strategy is kind of world famous for giving you a few choices. This is going to be a fun day. So I've come to the Belfry. I'm not sure there's a better location in the world when it comes to talking about strategy. We are making our way to the 10th hole at the Belfry, which arguably offers up one of the biggest questions and best questions in world golf through history, with Ryder Cups and what have you, when it comes to strategy. So in my journey to try and discover what the perfect drive is or really means, strategy has to be, well, it's always there, isn't it? Because every shot I play has a decision, which is going to be influenced by the weather, the wind, what shots I've hit, what shots I need to hit going forwards, what score I'm on, what score I need to hit. So there's a lot riding on strategy. Or is there more than we think? Maybe we read far too much into it. So strategy, the main point I think when it comes to strategy that is often really overlooked is it has to be dynamic. So you'll have an element of strategy going into a round, what you want to score, what the conditions are, if you like the course or don't, it's a course you feel you can score on or you can't. All those things will play their part, which will make you have this predetermined strategy. But I feel, as I play golf more and more, that the best players have a good dynamic strategy, so they're able to twist it, turn it, move it, make it as functional as it needs to be. And obviously when you're making these choices and changing on a golf course, give you an example, let's say I'm hitting the ball always a bit to the right, then my strategy is now going to be to react to those shots. I'm going to start aiming to the left or make a swing for it to try and maneuver that ball. My strategy is changing from where I aim to where I see shots to where I see the trouble. Where I think people who struggle with their drivers are often always looking for that consistency word, so they do everything consistently, then at the same time are able to consistently get it wrong. So being able to move your ideas of strategy, being able to control your own feelings to let go at the right time as well as hold on to your strategy is as important as having a strategy. The next big question I think with strategy comes down to hitting within your safety zone or not, or how far you try and push the envelope, how far you try and push yourself, because they're the real big challenges. When you think about strategy, you know, how far do you try and push the drive? How much do you take on over the water, which is outside the comfort zone or not? And I think there lies the bigger questions when it comes to strategy that lots of amateur golfers certainly maybe trip up on. So if we take my own game for example, my strategy is quite predetermined because I have skill sets within clubs and not. So with my drive and my tee shot feeling as straight as almost any club in my bag, it allows me to take an aggressive strategy without feeling like it's an aggressive strategy to me. It feels like it's my safest, where if you give someone else who's less skilled with a driver that strategy, play your driver everywhere, they're going to think that's really high risk and it's going to push them outside of their comfort zone. And as soon as you start pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, for me, so not being able to hit driver off every tee, having the club down, hit freewards where I don't feel I'm as accurate, will show themselves in my score. They will show themselves in my choice of strategy or not. So I think it's really important, if you want to have a good strategy, is to understand your tolerances from top to bottom. To understand when you push yourself to your top tolerances, just how bad or good are you compared to staying within your safety zone or not. The idea that playing the correct shot, the conservative shot each time, has to be so player specific. And I think I'm a classic example of that, because my strategy is used by anyone who watches my videos. Sophie Walker uses the same strategy I do. She'll use her driver in every situation she can, because she, like me, she feels like it's one of her straightest clubs. Do you see what I mean? What we think is the safest, lots of golfers out there would feel like it's the worst strategy. You got to understand your games. That's how you're going to score, isn't it? So what shot to play and when is always that big question I get asked from golfers when it comes to this kind of idea of how to manage yourself around the golf course. And it's one of those questions that's really hard unless that golfer has patterns. If they've got repeatable patterns, then you can work that into their game plan. If you're someone who hasn't got those repeatable patterns, strategy is always going to be a bit of a roll of the dice. My strategy is always to make par. So here we go. Look, let's put some of these ideas to test. It's the 10th at the Belfry, one of the most famous holes, I would say, in the world when it comes to thinking about gameplay strategy. Now, we haven't talked that much about game, if it was medal or match play, and that plays a big part as well, which is where this course played a great part in its Ryder Cup rolls, because obviously if you're playing 4-ball, better ball into this hole, one of you goes, one of you lays up. It's the perfect scenario. But let's pretend, because most of you are going to be playing medals or kind of Staplefords, those kind of ideas, and I've got to go and take on Lango for the perfect drive and take him on. So I'm going to have that go at trying to hit that perfect drive. And for me, the strategy on this hole is a tricky one, and we're going to try both. So I'm going to do the layup and I'm going to go for it. It's about a 250-yard shot. The ball I don't want to lose, I'm going to lay up, and the ball I don't mind losing, I'm going to go for it. And I think that kind of shows you, even as someone who's happy with their driver, what they feel is the safer option. So it's about a 240-yard shot, and the green is very, very narrow, so your risk reward is definitely aimed towards more of the risk than the reward here. I've lost it in the air, and it started straight at it. You'll have to get up there and look. It started straight. I don't know if it just feathered to the right. And that's why it's risky. That's not a bad shot. Any fairway ball, that is in play and fine. We don't know. So the perfect drive, really in this situation, is trying to hit the ball about 190, 200 yards, which for me is my 23-degree hybrid. It's just a great example of how the definition of perfect drive changes on the many aspects of what you're competing with. Including having to compete with yourself. So I've got 92 yards now, and it's still a tough shot, but this is by far the more gameable way of playing this hole. Still can't see my drive as well, so we don't know if this is definitely the best play, even though it feels like by far the safest. That is a putt for birdie. Now, one route is definitely at the minute proving safer than another, and to be honest with you, it's my less kind of comfort zone shot, and it shows you, I think, how much this idea switches around. Comes the rain. Is that it? Yeah. There it is. I made it, but this approach from 92 from the flat hitting into the upslope of the green is easier than this approach trying to flop it onto a green that's running towards the water. So when it rains, it pours. So I am now dropping there. I make pars. There are a lot of questions where the idea of this part and this whole series is to find answers. There's more questions now. That was fun to do and see, wasn't it? How funny was that last hole?
Yeah, strategy that.
Because at the end of the day, you've got to execute shots, haven't you? You've got to execute. Otherwise, the strategy is pointless. And I think that's where maybe the amateurs struggle, because they can have the best strategy in the world, but if then the shots let them down,
Yeah.
it's hard to commit to strategy, isn't it, a little bit?
If only I'd done that on that hole.
Yeah, well, that's what it boils down to, a bit of hindsight coaching almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could have played that hole 10 times, and that's an extreme version of strategy, that hole, because it's so narrow, the entrance to that green. It's about playing to your strengths and playing to your advantage. You're kind of, well, you're playing always into your advantages through your strengths, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which for me, I would use my driver as an advantage, so I would keep trying to go that way. But you just got to accept that the risks are bigger, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I got one go against Langer, so the strategy is going to be quite basic. Hit a decent shot and straighter than him. It's going to be, because you know he's going to be reliable.
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? Or you would guess, or you would hope. Maybe he isn't. Maybe I can hit a perfect drive against Bernard, of all people. This is my car, by the way. This is my car.